So in this video, I'm gonna go through my process in getting permits, what I do to kind of make things easier on myself, and what my experience has been with it. So, all right, let's get into it. So the first thing is, yes, I think you should get permits when you're doing an investment property. Number one, there's gonna be a lot of safety checks, right? If you don't get permits and something happens to someone in your unit because of faulty work and you didn't do things correctly, I really believe that opens you up to a ton of liability. Also, you know, it's good to just have good safe practices. Like they're gonna talk about fire prevention and different things like that, slowing fires that as they move through houses, different things they want things done. You know, you're getting electrical inspections, typically plumbing inspections and structural inspections to make sure all the work you're doing is done properly. And I do think that's super important because you're gonna spend a lot of money on all this stuff. Now let's talk about the cost of permits. They're usually a couple $100 per permit, so maybe you would budget less than $1,000 for permits, depending on the size of your project. It depends obviously on where you are. So I'm in West Goshen, Pennsylvania, which is a township, and it goes by township. Now, a really easy thing you can do is, when you're going to get permits, just go and talk to the township. The people that work there, it depends on obviously on who you're talking to, but are usually pretty friendly and they try to help you. They're not trying to make things hard on you or difficult or slow your progress or anything like that. In their mind, they just want to make sure the project is done correctly and safely so that they don't have any issues. And they really do get mad at people that are trying to skirt the system, not pull permits, hide what they're doing. But if you're coming to them and you're straightforward, that's when you're really gonna have a lot less problems and a lot less issues. That's my opinion, and that's how I like to operate. So when I do a renovation, I wanna make sure it's done properly, and you know, they wanna make sure it's done properly, and we're just in alignment. I just think being dishonest is a bad policy, and it's gonna cause you problems. The other thing that happens is when you go to sell the house, the buyer, at least in the Pennsylvania disclosures, you're gonna have to disclose, hey, this work was done and I pulled permits or I didn't pull permits. And when you write you didn't pull permits, the buyer is not gonna be happy about that because they don't know that the work was inspected and done correctly. Now they're looking at maybe a homeowner that did work themselves and they've got doubts in their mind. That is gonna pull the price of your house down when you go to sell because more buyers are gonna be turned off by that. So I just wanted to show you a package that the permit people give me. I did some drawings here and stuff too, which are terrible drawings, you know, but you don't have to be an artist, you don't have to be an engineer to kind of just make some basic drawings to help both the permit people understand and your contractors understand what you're trying to accomplish with your project. And I think it's awesome to just draw it out. I have a kitchen designer who does some kitchen design work for me, so you'll kind of see what I'm talking about with that and how that helps with understanding the permit process. And again, they're gonna have some certain requirements, for example, like having an outlet in every bay, like, you know, that the outlets are properly protected to ground fault if you got stuff near water, things like that. So anyway, let me show you a package and what I'm doing here with that. So you can see here, this is the package that the inspector gave me, and I started filling things in here. I need to make sure I did everything properly. This is usually available on the website, by the way. If you go to the township website, you can download all this. You don't have to go down there. But again, I do think it's nice if you can just talk to people and all that stuff. So the building thing here is just like I'm putting in a doorway and I'm filling in a window, and the doorway is structural. So, and there's a way you can tell if the house is structural, which is cool. You can look that up on YouTube, by the way. It's pretty helpful. YouTube's always helpful. And then my electrical permit, just saying, hey, I'm gonna replace the panel, all the different stuff I'm gonna do and who's gonna inspect it. HVAC, I'm not doing really too much with HVAC. And then like I'm putting in a new bathroom with the plumbing and all that stuff, and this is my permits. So I don't not do fire protection systems and stuff like that. They're gonna want some insurance information with this. But I'm not sure why they're saying this is partial. But you can see here some drawings that I marked up. This is the kitchen drawing, and I'm showing where the fridge, dishwasher, oven is, and my different lights. And this might not make sense to you, but makes sense to me. I drew a little laundry room here just to show where the washer and dryer is going and different things. And I drew my little bathroom here in the center of the house and how big it's going to be and where the toilet's going to be and that kind of stuff, just to, again, illustrate. And then you can see where this doorway is going. So these are just really simple illustrations. You can see pictures of the kitchen reno, what it's looking like. These are all turned sideways, so sorry about that. So I hope that's helpful to you in understanding the permit process. You know, once I get these permits issued, then they're gonna want to see the initial inspections done. They may come by for those. There's gonna be an electrical inspector who's like a separate entity, like you hire a separate electrical inspector and he's gonna put a sticker in the window and that kind of thing. So there's some parts of the process that you just need to understand. But again, the township people typically, at least in my experience, have been helpful in helping you understand what you need to do and you know, what permits are needed for what, and making sure that you understand code and that kind of thing. So it's much better, again, to engage them ahead of time. If you get called out on not getting permits and you've done all the work and the walls are all closed, they may ask you to open up walls so they can see things, or that kind of thing. You know, if you don't have an engineering drawing done, they may ask you to rip it apart and have it redone, or maybe you didn't do it correctly. So it can really create a lot more work. They're also probably gonna fine you, which is not ideal. I don't like getting fined. So anyway, long story short, get permits, work with the township that you're in to kind of get help from them. The city of Philadelphia might be tougher. I hear they are tougher, but like, you know, out here in the suburbs, it's really not too bad a lot of the time, but they can be really strict. If you do not show the work, you know, you do not show, hey, this is with it open and everything like that, then you may have to rip things up and redo them if they can't see what you've done and they're unhappy, and if the inspector is really being tough on you. So the other point I want to touch on is when you don't need permits, and that's usually when you're doing something cosmetic that's not really involving like a structural change or a change to the systems like HVAC, electrical, plumbing, that kind of thing, or you're building a structure. So if you're just like replacing a faucet in your sink, or you may be switching out a vanity or swapping out a toilet, or just putting flooring down, or anything like that, where you're really not making any changes to the plumbing or electrical, where it's just very cosmetic, usually that's not really requiring any kind of permit, or painting or something like that, right? So I just wanted to touch on that real quick on when you don't really need a permit versus when you do. And that's an important thing to know when you're doing a renovation. So just do things right, make sure that's part of your plan in your renovation. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. I help people invest in real estate in the Philly suburbs, and I'd love to help you. See ya.